Hi, Alton Brown, coming to you from my refrigerator, which has got. Oh, that's Jan. Okay, so anyway, here we go. Hey, Alton Brown here. You're about to watch Sweets, Treats, and Eats with Howie Morgasen. Yay! What will he be cooking this week? Nobody knows. Will he put a spin on food favorites? Oh, I hope so. And will those grandkids be cooked again? I'm sorry, will those grandkids be cooking again? Because, of course, we don't cook the grandkids, do we? Anyway, it's time for a food adventure. Yay! Did I do it right? Okay, good.
Welcome to Sweets, Treats, and Eats. I'm Howie Morgasen. I hope you enjoyed our new opening. It was a gift from my family, so thank you, family, for that, and thanks to Alton Brown. So on today's episode, we're going to talk about keto, or ketogenesis, which is a diet and a process that I have been on. So it's my personal journey for the last 5 months or so. I've been on keto and I've lost a lot of weight and I feel great because of it. So keto is more of a lifestyle than a diet, and I'm going to sort of take you on that journey with me and you can see what I'm doing. So on this episode, I'm going to do 2 different foods. I'm going to do donuts, and that's what we're going to get started with. And then after that, we're going to do brownies. So why don't we get started? So for the chocolate glazed donuts, we're going to do the keto version first, and it starts out with coconut flour. So coconut flour doesn't have any grains in it, so it's much healthier for you than normal all-purpose flour. So we're going to start with that. Then we're going to use this sweetener, which is sweet like sugar, but it's not sugar. And I'll put in the comments below with the recipes what these things are, but these are very healthy, natural types of things. I'm going to put in some cocoa powder, and that's Dutch processed cocoa powder. I'm going to put in some baking powder, and I'm going to put in a little bit of salt, and a little bit of nutmeg, and some cinnamon. And I'm going to mix the dry ingredients to get them all incorporated. Okay, and once I have them all mixed in, we'll go for the wet ingredients. So I have 3 eggs. Put those in. I have some melted, cooled butter. I have some milk. I have some vanilla extract. And I have some sour cream. Okay, so now I'm going to mix all of these together. And when we come back, we're going to show you how we put them together to make the donuts. So stay with us. All right, so here we have our dough, which we put together, our nice chocolate dough. And now what we're going to do is, I have this nice silicone donut mold, and I got it on Amazon, very inexpensive. It actually comes with 3 of these in a package, so you can make up to 12 donuts. I'm going to make 4 of the keto donuts, and I'm going to make 4 of the regular donuts, and then we're going to compare. So the recipe says, about 4 tablespoons, per donut mold here. So I'm going to take 4, sort of put them in, and then I'm going to just press them down. Make sure I get them pushed all the way in, maybe a little more because these are extra large donuts. So I'm going to take a little bit more here. Spread it around. Okay. That's the first one. So let's go for the second one. So I'm going to continue doing this. When I'm done, it's going to go into a 400 degree oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. You should check it along the way to see if it's firm to the touch, and also a toothpick inserted comes out dry. So stay with us. When we come back, we're going to make the regular version of the donut, and then we're going to try them together. So stay with us. Okay, so now we have our keto donut in the oven, and now let's get started on our non-keto or regular donut. This donut is similar to a traditional donut you had growing up, which was the Entenmann's chocolate-coated donut that had a white cake in the middle and chocolate coating on the outside. So this is a copycat recipe for that. So why don't we get started? I have some all-purpose flour, the regular flour that we normally use. I have some sugar, and I'm going to put in a little bit of salt and a little bit of baking soda. Okay, so that's the dry ingredients. So I'm going to mix those up so they get all incorporated. And now we'll go for the wet ingredients. So I have 1 egg, and I have some sour cream. Okay. And I have some vanilla extract, some melted cooled butter, and some vegetable oil. Okay, and now I'm going to mix this up. And so I'll continue mixing here, and I'll come back. We will put this one in the mold and get it ready to go in the oven, so stay with us. All right, so we have the batter now, and you can see this batter looks a lot different than the keto batter. This one is actually smoother, and it's a bit more liquidy than the other one. So in order to work with this one, I have my donut tray again here, my silicone donut tray. And now I'm going to use a scooper to sort of help me, fill it up. So I'm going to just fill these up. Okay, and then, so I'll continue to work on this, and when it's done, it'll go into the oven as well. And I believe it's 400 degrees again. I think these go a little bit longer. And then when we come back, they'll be cooled, and then we can work on icing them. So come on back. All right, so we're back, and our cake donuts are out of the oven, and they have cooled down, and they look pretty good. So I now made a glaze, and since this is keto, I used Swerve sweetener. You can find that in the supermarket, and some cocoa powder, a little bit of milk, and a little bit of vanilla extract. And I just mixed it till it came out to a glaze consistency. I have it on a cookie sheet, and I have a cooling rack that I have the donuts on so I can glaze them. And basically what I'm going to do is just pour the glaze over each one, and it will drip down. And I'll come back and get more of it, but I just want to make sure I get each one of them with some of this really awesome looking glaze here. All right, so we'll continue glazing these, and then when the other donuts are cooled, we're going to come back and glaze those, which will be a different glaze. That will be with chocolate. So make sure you come back and join us. Okay, so now we have our regular donuts, or our non-keto donuts. They're out of the oven and they cooled. And we trimmed them a little bit because they ran a little over in the mold, but that's okay. Stuff like that happens. So now they're cooled. And for this one, we're going to use a milk chocolate covering for this. So I have my trusty melter here, and I've melted some milk chocolate, and I put a touch of oil in just to smooth it out. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take the chocolate and we're going to drape it over the donut. And it will go down the sides. So on this one. Okay, and a little over here. So I'm going to keep glazing these, and then when we come back, we'll show you both donuts and we'll give them a taste. So stay with us. All right, so we have our donuts here, and we'll get to them in a second. What I wanted to bring your attention to is this gorgeous cutting board that I got as a birthday present from our friends Margot and Vinny. And you know Vinny, he's been on several of the podcast episodes that we've done, and look forward to working with him in the future. So they got us this really excellent cutting board. So now, why don't we try the donuts? And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take the donuts. So here is the cake donut that we did. And I'm just going to cut that in half so you can sort of see what's in the middle. Put that back here. And then I'm going to take the regular donut. I'm going to cut that in half. If I can get into it. There we go. Okay, and I'll take that and I'll put that over here. Okay, so here are the two donuts that we had. I just wanted to show you what they look like. And they're very different, but the keto is that if you don't, I got chocolate all over my hands. Sorry for that. There we go. The keto donut has no sugar in it and no grain in it. So it is a lot healthier for you. This is a traditional donut that has regular flour, so grain, and sugar in it. And they are both excellent, I'm sure. So I'm going to try the regular donut first. And that certainly is yummy. Now I'm going to try a keto donut. And that is pretty yummy as well. So if you could try the keto donut, you might like it, and it might be a new habit for you. So up next on the keto versus non-keto, we're going to attack brownies. So stay with us. All right, so we just finished the donuts. So we did keto and non-keto donuts, and I hope you give those a try. And now we're on to keto and non-keto brownies. So we're going to start with the non-keto brownie, and the ingredients that I have here should look familiar to you because this is normally how you would make brownies. So we're going to start out with sugar. So we're going to put our sugar in, and we're going to put our butter in. And then what we're going to do, make sure I get all that butter in, is I'm going to mix the sugar and the butter together. And I want to make sure that it's really well combined and the sugar is dissolving within the butter, because that's really important for the consistency of the brownies, and that looks like it's getting about right. So next, what we're going to do is I'm going to add the eggs, and here are the eggs. And we'll give the eggs a mix to make sure it's all combined. Now this is a one bowl recipe, so means you just have to mix everything well to make sure that it gets combined. So that looks like the eggs are combined in there. And next I want to put some vanilla extract in and keep mixing. And now we're going to do the dry ingredients. So I have some cocoa powder, so we'll put that in. Give it a mix. Make sure we don't get cocoa powder on the cameraman. Sorry, Nick. So we'll mix that up. Make sure that gets combined. And cocoa powder, and this is Dutch processed cocoa powder, so it's nice and dark, and it has a lot of chocolate flavor in it, so it's good that we use it. I have a little baking soda, because this recipe calls for baking soda. Not baking powder, because typically brownies are not something that you want to rise a lot. You want them to be dense, and that's why you don't put the baking powder in. And then the last ingredient I have is the all-purpose flour, and I'll put that in. And we'll mix that in as well. Be careful not to get flour on the cameraman again. So I'm going to keep mixing this here, and when we come back, we'll load up the brownie trays and bake some brownies. So stay with us. Okay, so you can see the batter, and it looks great. Maybe something you want to sit in the corner with a spoon. When you were little, you like to do that. So we have it, and I have my trusty scooper here. Now, this is a silicone brownie mat, and it's for making mini brownies, which is pretty cool if you think about it, because if you're serving dessert, you might have something else along with the brownies. So this is a small portion. And if people are hungry, they can eat multiples if they want. So what I'm going to do is take my scoop, and what I'm going to do is fill up the trays. Now, I don't want to fill them all the way up because they're going to rise a little bit. So I'll put a little in each one. And I'll keep doing this here, and then they're going to go in an oven, 350 degrees for 30 to 35 minutes. And then when we come back, I'm going to tackle the keto brownies. So stay with us. All right, so now we're on to the keto brownie. And so let's get started with that. So again, we have butter. Put butter in there. And we have the sugar alternative. And for this one, I have white sugar and brown sugar together that I put together for this. So we'll put that in. Okay, and now we gotta mix these together so that the sweetener dissolves into the butter, because that's how you get the best consistency for your brownies. So we'll mix them up a little bit. So this sweetener is very popular. It's called Swerve. You can find it in the supermarket in the baking area. So a lot of the keto ingredients are showing up in the supermarket because keto has become a very popular diet. So that's why people are doing it. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So now we're going to add the eggs in. Okay, got the eggs. And now we're going to make sure that the eggs get mixed into it as well. Again, this is another one bowl type of thing that, that we're working on. So we have to make sure that all the ingredients get mixed in together. And now the eggs are in good shape here. So now we can go on to the next part of it, and that is the dry ingredients. So we have some Dutch processed cocoa powder again, because that gives us the dark, rich chocolate in the brownie. So we're going to mix that in. So some of the ingredients are common between the keto and the non-keto brownies. So we have eggs, and we have Dutch processed cocoa powder. So those two are the same. The sweeteners are different, and the flours are different. So I'm going to put a little baking powder in this one. And then I have the coconut flour, which is what we're going to use here. We're going to mix that in now to make sure it gets combined well. And I also have some vanilla extract, which I'll put in here, and I will keep mixing. Now, if you're cooking with coconut flour, what the recommendation is, because coconut flour is a very absorbent flour, is that after you mix up your batter, that you let it sit for about 5 minutes, because that will absorb a fair amount more of moisture and will make the batter very dense. So we're going to do that. So I'm going to keep mixing here, and when we come back, we'll put these in the tray and send them off to the oven. So stay with us. All right, so here is our keto batter for our brownies that we put together, and it looks different from the batter we had from the non-keto ones, but we're going to do it the same way. We have the same tray, and we're going to scoop it in, and for this, you can put it up to the top because it doesn't rise much. So what I'll do is I'll keep scooping these, and when we come back, we should have both sets of brownies out of the oven, and we can show you what it looks like. So stay with us. All right, so we are back, and we have both of our keto and non-keto recipes here. Just by looking at them, you couldn't tell which one's which. They both look like delicious brownies. And so I will tell you, I'll sort of end the mystery. So these here are the non-keto brownies, and these over here are the keto brownies. The keto brownies look a little darker, and that might be because of the brown sugar alternative I used in these versus all white sugar in these. But let's sort of cut into them and see what they look like. So that is the non-keto brownie. So we'll give that a little taste. And that tastes delicious. So what I'll do is I'll put this here and I'll put this over here. Now let's cut into the keto one, which also looks great. And I'll put this one over here too. So here is the keto brownie, so you can get a chance of what it looks like. Looks pretty good on the inside, so let's give it a try. And this one tastes really good as well. So you will have a favorite, I'm sure, but I'll show you the two of them sort of up front. This is the keto one, and this is the non-keto one. To me, they both taste good. So if you can't have the sugar or you can't have the gluten, then the non-keto brownie is a great substitute for it. And unlike the donuts, which it was obvious that the non-keto one tasted better, and the keto one tasted okay, but not as good as the non-keto one. And the brownies, I would say that the keto showing is very good. So I would try it. So that's it for this episode, the keto versus the non-keto. We did the donuts and then we did the brownies. And I hope you will try them. And we will do additional keto versus non-keto, so stay tuned for that. And thanks for joining me on this episode of Sweets, Treats, and Eats. See you next time.